110-minute conversation on video between President Xi and President Biden yesterday, not too many hours ago from now. Give us the uptake or the upshot of what they discussed, Steve.
Well, I mean, I think this call illustrates that Russia's invasion of Ukraine is presenting profound shifts in geopolitics that are going to last for months, if not years or decades. Look, at this call, it was for President Biden to warn President Xi about the costs of Beijing providing material support to Russia. Now, President Xi has denounced military actions, but he's refrained from condemning Russia for its aggression. He's called the sanctions in place against Russia illegal, saying it's going to cause a global economic crisis. And Xi also talked a bit about Taiwan as well. So I don't know how much further along we are now that we can tell. It's really it's what's going to happen in the coming days and months that we'll get a better sense of what's going to happen with China and Russia and U.S.-China relations.
Yeah. But on that point, Steve, it does feel a slight stalemate again, as if we've been here before. I mean, Joe Biden talked about implications and consequences. They were the words used, implications and consequences, if Beijing provides material support to Russia. What could those implications and consequences possibly be, Steve?
Well, the first question is what is President Xi going to do? As my friend and McClarty colleague Ryan Haas describes it, who is President Obama's director of at the National Security Council for China. Ryan says, look, Xi has competing priorities. He truly places a lot of value in China's partnership with Russia. But at the same time, he can't undermine China's relations with the West, especially when it comes to the economy. And so how is President Xi going to balance that? I think, look, Putin clearly painted himself into a corner by thinking that he could easily go into Ukraine, topple the regime under the false premise of denazification, and instill a client state, a puppet government. And that didn't happen. It's not going to happen. And who knows what Putin is going to do. And Xi made a mistake, I think, by outsourcing China's foreign policy to Russia. And now what is China going to do? So that's really the key question that we have to watch. And President Biden made it very clear he can't allow China to give military aid to Russia to continue the murders and atrocities that are happening to women and children and innocent civilians in Ukraine.
Steve, is there a disconnect here with China's support of Putin in Ukraine and the fact that China has always been very, very clear about this idea of non-interference and big countries should stay out of other countries and stay out of other countries' business, etc. And yet here we have their friend Russia, going into an independent country and without any provocation, physical provocation. Where's the connection that China, it's some mental gymnastics or geopolitical gymnastics they're doing here, right? To make this work, at least from what I can see.
No, Glenn, you're exactly right. And that's why this is going to have or could have such a profound impact on geopolitics, because China has always taken the position of its strong support for territorial integrity. And it is clearly not doing that yet. It is not doing that here. And China recognizes the risk of China and Russia being lumped together as interchangeable enemies of the Western world, as not supporting that need for territorial integrity. And so what is China going to do to escape the trap of either being interchangeable with Russia, but also wanting to support Russia? And that is what this phone call was about. It was the U.S. laying down a clear marker on behalf not just of the United States, but of all the 100+ countries that have condemned Russia's invasion. And now the ball is really in Xi's court.
since we're still on Russia, you want to talk about?
Tell us about this. Well, this Russian oligarch super yacht, Steve. This is a great story that I think a lot of our Singaporean listeners will love. Tell us about this poor, maligned oligarch and his super yacht woes.
Yeah, well, so as most former KGB officers do, they have lots of money, and as most former KGB officers do, they can afford to buy an $85 million yacht.
68 meters, 223 feet. Yep. Carry on.
Annual running cost of $5 to $8 million, right? You plump down that $85 million. That's just a start. You got another $5 to $8 million every year to run the thing. And so now he's not on any sanctions list. So we don't know that he's done anything illegal, and he hasn't been sanctioned as part of Russia's invasion into Ukraine. But his yacht it's stuck at a dock in Norway because no one is willing to sell it any fuel.
Talk about a first world problem, right? And I think some of the crew members were not being paid, or some. I know there was some other thing, or maybe there's another.
Well, the crew's all Western, right? And they weren't sailing to Russia, but one of the Norwegian fuel suppliers, when the crew was complaining that they wouldn't sell them fuel, he said, you know what, row home, raise your sails. You're not getting any gas from us. But this does extend into a broader question for businesses. If you're going to do business in Russia, if you're going to do business with Russians, what are your customers going to tell you? How are your customers going to treat you? And so this is a real struggle. While obviously, you feel sorry for the Western crew aboard this vessel, although maybe some people don't. But people are saying we don't want to be in any situation whatsoever where we are contributing to the Russian economy. And so if you are a Western business and you're still doing business in Russia, are you going to be subject to consumer boycotts the same way, this $85 million oligarch-owned ex-KGB yacht is being subject to a consumer boycott and a supplier boycott in Norway? It's a real change of what's happening, and consumers are becoming super empowered.
I keep my super yacht at Sentosa Cove. It's much safer. It's
easy to get fuel.
Right? It's nearby. It's easier. I have good relationships with the Singaporean crews.
And I bet, Neil, that when you're on your super yacht, you only have 5 guests with you, and you will all wear masks at all times.
Exactly, until the food arrives. And when the food arrives, the COVID miraculously dissipates around my dinner table.
Well, Steve, we definitely want to have you on today. We're all going for a cruise later, so Steve, come on down after.